With our Shepherds, our future campaign underway, Father Stephen asked me for a few reflections. And the first thought that came to me was what the Pope did for a severe priest shortage in pioneer America. He created the Diocese of Baltimore with 1 bishop and 4 priests. Several dioceses in central USA began with 1 bishop and 1 priest. Our situation is not that desperate, but it is a problem. And we might think that maybe some bishop there was, well, how realistic was what he did? At that time, the pioneers, the immigrants, I should say, from Europe were coming into the country, and they'd keep moving farther and farther west, settling the land. And by getting ahead of them in central USA, the Pope was expecting a priest would eventually arrive. Some of them are immigrating from Europe as well, and they would get the church up and running that way. But above all, it would be ready to go already when the immigrants arrived. So whatever it was, 1 bishop and 1 priest in a diocese. And sometimes that 1 priest was a priest who happened to have come in there earlier simply for missionary work with the Native Americans. So it was an interesting time. Well, my going into the seminary wasn't to answer such a desperate call. I took the road to priesthood under the old seminary system. I went into the seminary after the 8th grade. Beginning in 9th grade, started my 4 years of high school at St. Joseph Seminary on Burton Street in Grand Rapids. Then there were 2 years of campus on the same, 2 years of, what did I say? I guess I got the word campus mixed up in there. 2 years of college is what I wanted to say. And so I did 6 years there on Burton Street, and then 4 more years, or 2 more years in Baltimore at St. Mary's Seminary, which was really the oldest seminary in the USA, established in established in the year 1891, that was it. And after 2 years there, I got my bachelor's degree, and then last 4 years was at St. John's Seminary at Plymouth, Michigan. So there I was. I was in the class of 10 men ordained 58 years ago in 1963. The old seminary program that we had then, that very wisely has been put aside. Father Stephen knows that because he is one of the key people working with that. And at the age of 13, when I went into the seminary, it was impossible to do any mature mature consideration of what was involved with a call to the priesthood. And so anyway, when I was ordained then in 1963, it was an exciting time. It was right in the middle of the Second Vatican Council. It was an exciting time. For some people, it was a challenging time. Sometimes it was messy, confused, but there was hope, optimism, excitement. I was happy to be part of it, and so were the better share of us young priests at that time. Just what all it did for us. It just opened up our minds to so many things that we had never dared to think about before. There was a word, ecumenism, That was a new word in our vocabularies, to be associating with people of other Christian faiths, much less non-Christians. And one example that is hard to believe for us today, but it must have been, I was ordained in 63, I think it was in 64, that the bishop decreed that one particular Sunday throughout the diocese would be a day of open house to invite everyone who wants to see what a Catholic church looks like to come and visit. I was at St. Francis Parish in the Burton Heights area at that time. We put up rope to keep people sort of channeled through the church so they could keep on moving. We had any number of parishioners at various key places who were explaining what was to be seen as the people came through. And they spent a number of hours that afternoon keeping that line filled as they were coming to look at what a Catholic church looks like. Obviously never felt welcome before, and possibly weren't welcoming to Catholics who came to visit them. But it was a wonderful step forward in understanding people who are different from us. I mentioned the time being an exciting time. There's in the parish, people wanted to learn what the excitement was all about. So we had all kinds of study clubs. Some are short-term, some are long-term. Generally, they were meeting in their homes. Maybe 10, 12 people would be in this group, another group like that down the street. And I was working with one group of them, a large group, another priest in the parish, he had another group. We'd often have 3 of them in one particular Sunday evening. And I would try to get to each one, give them a little help, a little direction. We were working hard on leadership training. CFM, Christian Family Movement, was very active there. But otherwise, there were just many liturgy, Bible study groups, and there was excitement that went with it. Social justice became a big issue. Racism was a big issue in the community, and we were doing what we could to work with it there. We worked with other churches, starting the Burton Neighborhood Association. I believe it was the second neighborhood association established in Grand Rapids. And whatever it was, I walked into it and ended up bringing the original steering committee of 5 people together, and we got the thing started. I was transferred out of that parish to St. Pat's in Portland soon after, and I don't know exactly what happened. It did fold up after a while, but it was replaced later by Garfield Park Neighborhood Association, which still is going today. So I think we had a real mark on the community with what we did. One of our involvements that I was really fond of came along after I was ordained a priest, about 8 years or 9 years or so. And I was in a West Side Grand Rapids parish, and I was paired up with a black leader in the community, and he would go out and recruit black parents of high school students. And I was recruiting white parents of white high school students. And then from there on, the next step was to get a kind of a balanced number of each group together for having just a visit with each other in their homes. And very interesting things happened in that. And all of this business, the neighborhood association, things like this, there were some rather exciting things happen sometimes. I guess that's kind of a good enough summary for what I'm. well, 12 years ago that I finally retired after many years of service in the church. And that was when, and of course at the start, like many Catholics, I was seldom seen in the pews. I worked weekends in various parishes that lacked a priest. I did that for about 10 years, and then around 2 years ago, why, things began to catch up with me. My mind and my eyes all make it difficult now to prepare for Masses and to preside at the altar the way I did for so long, but it's good that I was able to offer that service to the church, and otherwise I'm well enough now, but I'm glad to be part of St. Pius Parish because life is still good, and I thank God for it.